Welcome to episode 26.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
The holiday season is upon us, and there is no time like the present to book your holiday getaway with 3D Travel Company. Whether you want to set sail on the high seas or visit exotic and foreign locales, maybe your dream is to see a magical mouse, or maybe you long for a getaway that will universally appeal to all. For a limited time, my listeners receive a Disney gift card with qualifying Disney vacation purchases booked and traveled by the end of 2016. For more information on booking any of these trips, go to 3dtravelcompany.com and tell them Trenton sent you.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest is someone who has been on stage, off stage, on screen, behind the mic, and even been a director. He's got a wide variety of talents, so stay tuned as we listen in and find out who today's special guest is. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice? Today on the show we have Bill Holmes with us, the VO Doctor. Bill, thank you for joining us today.
Trent, thank you for having me. I appreciate you giving me a call, and hopefully this will be entertaining for your audience.
Absolutely. Well, this show is all about learning about voiceover and the people that make it happen. And so why don't you just start off just telling us your story? Who are you, Bill? Just tell us.
Okay. I started doing voiceovers about 30 years ago. I actually, at the age of about 19, I decided I wanted to be an actor. And so I started pursuing that. And I'm originally from the Chicago area. So I went to Chicago and did a lot of theater. I did some musical theater. Then I got some agents and I got, into commercials. And then from the commercial, doing on-camera commercials, my agent had a voiceover department, and I kind of naively said, "Hey, I want to do this too." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, sure. Here, go on this audition." And I went on my first audition at about the age of about 22 and booked the job right away. Then I went on my second audition and booked the job right away. And that's when the agents kind of looked at me and said, "Okay, well, get a demo and let's do this." So, and I also did a lot of, over the years, I was heavily involved in improvisational comedy, and I did some stand-up comedy. I used to work comedy clubs and stuff like that. So in general, I'm basically an actor. When I came to LA, I've done a little bit of television, did a little bit of movies, stuff like that. But I've always kind of stayed focused on voiceover because it's it's the shortest amount of time, most amount of money. And it's still really interesting and challenging to me to do that. And these days I do more producing and directing. I've done some, low budget independent films, a couple of documentaries, a couple of music videos, things like that. So my creative energy goes more into directing and producing these days. But like I said, I've always stayed with voiceover because in order to get a voiceover job, you have to be a really good actor. And it kind of keeps me in check to realize, okay, I'm still booking stuff. I still must know kind of what I'm doing. So I can continue on and keep doing it. And then from that, when I came out here I came out to LA about 30 years ago. I was doing a lot of on-camera work in commercials and whatnot. And my voiceover career kind of really fell off in LA. I worked a lot in Chicago, but then when I came into LA, I really didn't do a lot because the competition was so much, more out here. So I got a job at a place out here called the Voicecaster, And at the time, it was one of the only voice casting facilities in the country. It was definitely the biggest and most oldest and prestigious one in the country at the time. And I became a freelance director there because I just needed some extra pocket money, to be honest. I had a couple of kids at that point, and there was a gentleman by the name of Bob Lloyd who used to own the Voicecaster. He's the one who started it. And they were looking for a director, and I happened to be in auditioning with him, and he was complaining that he needed a director. And I said, well, hell, Bob, I'm right around the corner. I'll come in and direct here. And he just kind of looked at me and went, all right, come on in Friday. And that's kind of how I started my directing career out here. And it was for, the low price of $8 an hour. That's what I was doing it for.
Wow, goodness.
But the cool thing about that, the Voicecaster, was you were directing the best people in the country. I mean, it was amazing. It was a party there every day. It was so much fun. And I grew up as a kind of a TV junkie, so I got to direct some of my boyhood idols, because a lot of actors, when their TV careers are over, they go into the voiceover industry. And so I was directing guys like Tim Conway and Ed Asner and, just all these amazing character actors that would come in. And I knew all of their careers because I used to watch them when I was a little kid. So that was a lot of fun for me starting out directing. And it taught me a lot as an actor, and it taught me how to be a better director. And then from the directing at the Voicecaster, a woman by the name of Kat Lehman used to be one of the big voiceover coaches out here back in the 90s, early, 80s and 90s. And I was actually directing her in a session. She used to be the voice of the Electric Light Parade at Disneyland and things like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Boys and girls, moms and dads, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was directing her one day, and she said, you're a very good director. Have you ever thought about teaching voiceover? And I said, no, I really haven't. I've never done it, so I would not even think that I was capable and qualified. And she said, well, I teach a series of classes. Would you like to start learning how to do it? And she kind of took me under her wing and gave me some beginner classes to start working on. And I really, really enjoyed doing it. Again, the money was good. But I really enjoyed directing and teaching, the art of what voiceover is and acting. It was fun to watch people start their careers. So I did it with Kat Lehman for about 2 or 3 years. When I got busy doing some other acting things, I kind of stopped working at the Voicecaster and kind of went off on my own and started just teaching on my own. And that's when I became the Voiceover Doctor, because they, a lot of my students, they were good actors, but they just kind of needed kind of a checkup, as we would say. And so I would kind of diagnose what their problems were. And then I would kind of, tell them how to fix the problems they had. So I kind of gave them the cure of what ailed them. And people kind of started calling me the Voiceover Doctor. It's really kind of more of a self-appointed name.
Yeah.
But I really found myself kind of fixing people's problems, and then I would send them on their way, and they would go live their lives and make a lot more money than me. So it has seemed to have worked out for quite a few people. So the doctor is alive and well, and that's when I started doing my little Voiceover Doctor show, and we videotape. We do classes here at my studio called Margaritas, Mojitos, and Microphones. I can tell you all about that. And we videotape some of those, and that's all on my website and stuff too. So it's really started as a labor of love, and I just expanded it into I kind of needed a studio these days with all the self-direction and stuff that you do these days. So I found a way to pay for my studio by teaching the classes and things like that. And it's been a good time. I've been doing it for about 20 years now.
Wow, that's most fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. So what would you say is the key to your success when it comes to helping so many of your demo clients and students achieve their success? How did that all come about, do you think?
Well, the key to my success as a director and a coach, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, kind of what is the key to your success that has helped make, propel so many of these people's careers in the voiceover community forward,
Well, to be honest with you, it's a humbling way of thinking about it. Basically, I'm really simply teaching people how to become good actors. For me, the voiceover industry is no different than any other type of acting that's out there: film, television, stage, improv. It's all kind of the same thing to me. So if I've been successful and my clients have been successful, it's because they have had their style of aggressively becoming better actors that have led to their success. So I'm definitely a conduit to of information that they just didn't have before. But I really credit the people who succeed at this, who come through my doors. I give them, 80% of the credit for wanting to do this and staying with it and studying hard and going after their dreams.
Absolutely, Bill. Thank you for sharing that with us. So would you say that you're kind of like a life coach for voiceover artists?
Yeah, I mean, with some people, I am, I guess. I never really thought of it that way, but I do wind up giving a lot of advice. I mean, I've been acting for about 30 some years now, and I've had really good things happen to me, and I've had really bad things happen to me, because there are those people out there that are definitely going to try and take advantage of you. And I like to say that I've been screwed over by the best people in the world. Uh, so it's taught me a lot of lessons. And really, through my coaching and my teaching, I try to share my life's experiences, because and what I say to my students, Trenton, is everything I tell you is only my opinion. When people work with me, there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. You can't do anything wrong when you're working with me. There's the way you do it, and we're going to try to make it work for the way that fits you best. And most, good acting teachers out there will tell you that. And so when it comes to life experiences, it's kind of the same. I just try to share where I've made mistakes and where I've had successes, and hopefully that information will carry over into someone else's life and help them out.
Well, you kind of had mentioned margarita, mojitos, and microphones. Could you dive into that a little more and just kind of share that with our listeners?
Yeah, sure. We just had one last week. Well, it is exactly what it sounds like. What we do is I have guest directors come in. I've been fortunate over the years to have met some of the most talented people in the business. Guys like Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulsen and Bob Bergen and Gray Griffin. She used to be Gray Delisle, Kath Soucy, agents like Jeff Jones, Sandy Schnarr. I mean, you name it, I've come across their doorsteps at some point. And those people have always been kind enough to give back. So what I've come up with, instead of me just teaching the classes on Margarita nights, what happens is I get two guest directors to come in, and we have two studios going here at our facility. And what we do is we set up a refreshment stand, we'll say, in the lobby, and we serve refreshments of margaritas and mojitos and the like, along with soft drinks, and we put some some snacks out and whatnot. And it just kind of gives for a much more a looser atmosphere and a more cohesive learning atmosphere, we'll say. And so what I do is we have about 16 people, and we split them up into two groups, and you work with one director for about an hour or so, and then you flip flop and you get to work with the other director for an hour or so. All in between, going and having drinking water and drinking a margarita and chit chatting. And then at the end of the evening we have a Q&A session for about an hour, so that you can ask these people any questions you want. And like I said, I've had producers in, I've had directors in, I've had agents come in, and sometimes it's difficult to get an audience with those people. So on this particular night, everybody's loose, everybody's having a good time, and you can ask them anything you want, within that Q&A period. And it's been a real successful program. We've over the past few years, we've done about 32 of these now, 32 Margarita nights. And we also videotape some of them, and I put them up on my website. And you can, so if you can't afford to be here, if you're from some other part of the world and you just want to tune in and get advice from these people, it's a really good way of, popping in and getting some free advice on the website there.
Yeah, I was actually watching you and Bob Bergen just shortly before we began our interview. Bob was actually on the show with me yesterday, and
Oh, was he really? That's
yeah,
great.
I mean, you guys were. I mean, it was just fantastic to
Oh, thank
hear
you.
what you guys were sharing with that group, because I was like, wow, it was just so deep, and I was like, wow, so
Yeah, no, Bob is a phenomenal actor for one, and secondly, he's just one of the greatest teachers in the country, and I have nothing but nice and kind things to say about Bob Bergen because this guy knows his stuff, man. And I've auditioned with him and I've done a couple jobs with him over the years, and I've directed him several times, and he's just a blast to work with too. He's got so much information and he's so generous with that information. And I mean, go to his website too, bobbergen.com, and look around there because that's just a fun place to be as well.
yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I got to tell you, the most fun Margarita night that I witnessed for myself was the night we had Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulsen in. Do you know who those guys are?
Rob Paulsen, I believe, is Raphael on the original TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Now he's one of the other turtles now. They're also Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, they're Pinky in the Brain. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew Maurice. It's Maurice?
Maurice LaMarche,
Yeah,
yes.
Maurice LaMarche. I knew the name, but I was like, gosh, I can't pinpoint it. But Rob, I definitely know because
Yeah.
I
Those guys are two of the most talented people I've ever been around, and two of the most fun people when it comes to, because it's funny because Rob immediately agreed to come to a Margarita night because he has his Talking Tunes podcast and stuff like that. But Maurice, he said, "Can I call Maurice up and have him come do it with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, call Maurice." And so Mo called me up, a couple nights before, and he said, "So I hear Rob and I are going to come in and talk to your people." And I said, "Well, actually, you're going to be directing them with scripts and stuff too, and teaching a little bit." And he goes, "Oh, no, 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 I don't teach. I don't teach. I don't direct people." And I mean, he's one of the most humble people I've ever met. And I said, "Oh, well." I said, "Well, they're kind of expecting that." I said, "I'll tell you what if I direct them and you just kind of sit next to me and then you just give your opinion of what I'm saying." He's like, "Okay, I can do that. I can do that." Well, I got to tell you, I mean, if you go and watch the show on our website, I didn't say a word all night. I just pushed the button and Maurice was directing and he was teaching, and it was just such a joy to watch. And I mean, I learned from these guys, myself.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it was one of the most because they're amazing with each other. They're very good friends, and so they really know how to feed each other a line and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one I would highly recommend you go see when you have a chance. It was an entertaining night, and subsequently, because I had those guys here at the time, I was producing a radio drama version of A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
And a young guy, Shane Salk, came to me and asked me to direct and produce this. He's really into radio dramas, and we've become good friends now. And at the time, he said, "Look, I've got a budget together, and I'm ready to go. Will you do this with me?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds like a blast." And I just happened to be here with Rob and Maurice, and I looked at Maurice. I said, "Hey, Maurice, you want to be Scrooge?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, Rob, do you want to be Cratchit?" And he goes, "Yeah." So I cast it right then and there, and you can buy that on Amazon somewhere. It's called A Christmas Carol, and it's a really fun project that we put together with the likes of those guys: Quentin Flynn, Robbie Rist, Neil Flynn. You Google those names, and you'll see what those guys have done over the years. So So that's just we do a lot of fun stuff around here, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, absolutely, man. I mean, that sounds fantastic. I mean, for that environment to be more, lucid and kind of give people an opportunity to feel more relaxed and comfortable speaking to these people who are, bigs in the industry. And
Oh yeah.
I know that probably helps a lot because, there's definitely some nerves in that room. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because some people come just to have a few drinks and have a laugh, but a lot of people come and they take it very seriously. And I'll always be going, "Hey, come on, have a margarita," and they're like, "Oh no, I can't drink." Because sometimes you're meeting some of the biggest agents in LA, and they're like, this is their opportunity to kind of show off, and I'm like, "Oh no, they're gonna think you're so much better if you got a couple margaritas in you." But it's always worked out really well. In fact, we just had about a month or so ago, we had two directors in. Now I can't think who they. Well, we've had Bruce Thomas in here, Jamie Mortellaro, Kalel Bogdanov, and just Kevin. What's Kevin's last name? Mick. I feel so horrible. I can't remember his last name. But they're game directors. They were directors of like Fallout 4 and Halo and things like that. We've had Ike Amadi in. He's like the main character in Halo. He's the voice of Sportsnet, and we just have a really nice lineup of people come in who are really willing to come in and share all of their knowledge. So if you're ever in LA, come on in and try a margarita night sometime.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you have such a diverse talent pool that you're pulling in that's giving people an opportunity to really learn from bigs in all kinds of different areas within the industry. So
yeah, and mainly we do it because it's a good time. Kevin McMullen, that's Kevin's last name.
Kevin McMullen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do it because it's a good time, Trenton. I mean, that's why I started. That's why I became an actor. I became an actor because I couldn't believe people would pay me for this when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
My drama teacher at Warren Township High School said, "Oh yeah, no, you can get paid to do this." And I was like, "Wait a minute, I can get paid to do this? I want to do this forever." And I'm 56 years old, and I'm still having a really good time doing it. And for all your listeners out there, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, as I say, if you should be doing this because it's a really, really good time. You shouldn't be doing it for the money. You shouldn't be doing it for all those other reasons. You should be doing it because there's nothing better to do than this. And that's when you become successful in the voiceover market or any type of acting.
Well, I was going to ask you what kind of advice you have, but I think you nailed it on the head right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people approach me and they say, I'm interested in doing voices. I do voiceover and I just want to do voiceover. And I'm always correcting them. Because when you come into my class, what you're doing is you're taking an acting class. You're not taking a voiceover class, because a lot of people can do voices. And you'll hear other people, Richard Horvitz, Bob Bergen, you'll hear people like that say the same thing I'm telling you. It really doesn't matter if you can do voices if there's no acting behind it, if you can't make those voices believable. Especially these days in the video game market and the cartoon market. If you sit and watch video games, there's some, in a lot of them, there's some really good acting going on. And you have to be it's an amazing experience. I'm in a game called Fallout 4. Have you heard of that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Apparently it's a pretty big game. At the time I got it, I'm not really a gamer. So at the time I got it, I really didn't know, how big this thing was. And, but here, let me share that experience with you, because
Absolutely. Yeah.
it'll help these young kids who are starting out acting kind of figure out what it's all about. And Fallout 4, I don't do a lot of video games and cartoons and stuff. So when I do them, I really enjoy them. But Fallout 4 was a really fun experience for me, because the thing is, it's a big secret. You don't know that you're even auditioning for what you're auditioning for, because they keep everything a secret and you have to sign these non-disclosure papers and stuff. And so I didn't even audition for that particular game. And I got this job, and it was under the guise of a different name. And this is where I met Kal-El, Bogdanov, and yes, he is named after Superman. If anybody was wondering, because
I kind of
because
wondered that earlier when I was like, Kal-El,
yeah,
wait a minute.
his dad actually draws the Superman comic strip, so
Oh,
or
awesome.
comic books. So he's named after Superman. Really nice guy and really really good director. And so I met Cal, and I said I got to the job, and I said, I don't really remember what I did in the audition. Can you play it for me? And he said to me, he said, well, you didn't actually audition. We heard your audition from a couple months back for some other games that we were doing, and we liked your voice, but we thought you'd be better suited for this. So I said, oh, okay, well, can I hear that? And they played it for me, and I was kind of doing kind of a George C. Scott, General Patton kind of character then,
Yeah.
kind of real rough and gruff like this. And they said, can you take that guy and can you soften it? And, so I started talking kind of like Batman, and so I just did that. And he goes, yeah, that's it. That's it. And so my character's name in the Fallout 4 is called Edward Deegan, if anybody's looking for it. And, but anyway, so now they're explaining this game to me. They said, well, it's a game called Fallout 4, and let us show you the trailer. So I see the trailer, and it was a really cool trailer, and I'm sure you can find it online. And then he says, let me tell you about this world. And again, I'm not really a gamer, so I don't understand these video game
Yeah,
worlds
absolutely.
really well. And he's telling me all about this world, and it's kind of going over my head because I'm not that interested. And then he says, and now here's where your character fits in. And so now I'm listening. Now I'm listening very intently because this is the world that I need to live in, from an acting standpoint. And so he's telling me you're this guy and you work for this family, and I'm listening, and I kind of take it all in, and it turns out, which I didn't know until the game came out, I'm actually kind of this ghoul guy who's been burned up by nuclear, holocaust or whatever, and so that's why my voice is so raspy because I've been in this horrific fire and stuff, and so he tells me all this stuff, and then he goes, okay, do you have it? And I go, yeah, I got it. He goes, all right, great, get in the booth. So I haven't even seen the script to this point, and now I'm in the booth, and you have a big television screen, a monitor in there, and the lines come up on the TV screen. So the line that I'm working on is on the screen. He kind of tells me, you're in the house and you're doing this and you're doing that. Okay, go. And then you do a take, and then he goes, oh, that was great. Now do it and add this to it. And I would add something to it. He's like, great, moving on to the next line. So really, you're seeing the lines for the first time as you get in the booth on a lot of these video games.
Oh, wow.
And you're making it up right there. So this is where 30 years of experience of acting in all the other mediums that I've acted in come into play and come in to help me, because I think I did a total of 2 characters. I play another guy named AJ who sells drugs to kids and gets killed. You have to kill AJ in order to continue the game, from what people tell me. So I played AJ and Edward Deegan, and we did a total of about 400 or 500 lines, I think, in a 4-hour period, and then I'm done. And then that's it. That's Fallout 4.
Wow.
And so, but I got to tell you, Trenton, it was so cool because I do a lot of commercials, I do a lot of radio and stuff like that, and it gets kind of old. It's kind of all the same type of stuff. And Fallout 4 was the first time I went home to my wife and I said, you know what? For the first time in about 15 years, I really felt like an actor today. It was really cool.
That's so amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, because I got to do some acting,
Yeah.
for a long period of time. Because and again, I don't do a lot of cartoons and stuff, but I'm in a pretty popular cartoon right now called Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And again, it's just a guest star role. I'm not any of the main characters, but they had me on for a couple of episodes, and that was a fun experience too. But the session itself, I was done in 15 minutes both times.
Goodness, that was quick.
Yeah, it was really quick, and again, I make more money off of that than I make off of Fallout 4 because that's on television and you get residuals and stuff. And Fallout 4 is just a one-time payment, and that's it. That's all the money I'm going to see. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story about Fallout 4. That was just amazing. It was
Oh,
fantastic.
you're welcome.
And wow, thank you. Well, Bill, do you have a website or a way in which people can contact you if they're interested in coming to one of your nights? Or
Yes, it is voiceoverdoctor.com. And you spell all of that out. You write it all out. Voiceoverdoctor.com.
okay, absolutely.
And that's where you can see all the stuff. I also do a little talk show called the Voiceover Doctor Show, which is rather entertaining too, if you've seen a couple of those. So
I have. They are quite funny.
Yeah, so check those out. There's a lot of free information there too.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Bill. And you've given us such a wealth of knowledge today. I'm like, wow, you're blown my mind away. And it's just been so exciting and fun at the same time. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm really just a blue collar actor. I'm not one of the big guys. I just like to go in and, take out the bridge and then go on to the next one. I'm kind of like a stealth fighter,
Yeah, but the stealth fighters always give the support to the others, and that's what you've done for these others that are considered the bigs, and I consider you big because you've impacted so many people's lives.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's nice of you to say.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. Well, Bill, I have just a couple of quick questions for you, and
Yeah,
we
sure.
will go ahead and wrap up this episode. What is your favorite cartoon character growing up, and why?
Growing up, you know what? I'm a big Tom and Jerry fan of all things.
Most excellent. Absolutely.
And I would say Jerry, the mouse, is absolutely one of my favorite characters. And it's fresh on my mind because you kids have this thing called the YouTube, and I was actually just watching an old Tom and Jerry cartoon the other day, and I was still kind of chuckling and laughing at it. And I like I love physical comedy, and in my years of acting, I've done a lot of comedy and I've done a lot of physical comedy, and so those cartoons take from the greats of like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and people like that, and so I think that's usually my favorites. The old Roadrunner cartoons and Bugs Bunny, the Warner Brothers cartoons are always good because they weren't always politically correct, but you could always get a big laugh out of somebody getting hit on the head with a frying pan or something.
Absolutely. Well, my last question for you, Bill, is what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, wow, that's a pretty heavy question. Well, I mean, I've kind of done it. I mean, first and foremost in my life, my children are my legacy. So I would say that is number one priority in my life. As far as my career goes, the legacy I would like to leave behind are the people that, I mean, you kind of touched upon it yourself. I've worked with a lot of people, and they have gone on to great careers. And I would like to think of that as my legacy, even though people don't know that I'm involved in these people's lives. It's really nice for me to see them be successful. And most of the people I work with are not only very successful, but they're some of the nicest people in the world, and people that I'm really happy to call my friends now too. So.
Well, Bill, thank you so very much for sharing that word with us today. And thank you so very much for coming on the show. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure. Would you please just give us a closeout today as we end our episode?
Hi, this is Bill Holmes, the Voiceover Doctor, and you're listening to Trenton Larkin on Who Did That Voice? And I did this one.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Bill Holmes, the Voiceover Doctor. And if you did, please stop on by my Contact Me page at whodidthatvoice.co or .org. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Hey, do you ever find yourself asking the question, who did that voice? I know I sure do. If you've ever wondered, go to our episodes tab on the website, and each episode has a picture of the actor and different characters that they've played. Please check it out today and let us know what you think. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us this Friday for our next special guest, Charlie Adler, who has played Mechanicles from Aladdin the Animated Series, T-Bone from SWAT Cats, Cow and Chicken from Cow and Chicken, Buster Bunny from Tiny Toon Adventures, and MODOK from Avengers Assemble. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, are you ready to win some awesome prizes? All you have to do is like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter for your chance to be instantly and automatically entered for your chance to win.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.